Welcome to episode 100 and deuce of Masters of the Forge. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Adam. Hello, everyone else. Adam and I have now been recording for over an hour, and so we are at that point in our conversations that we're...
Yeah.
Well, we're always fun, but we're going to be a lot of fun today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
Drinking
and
water.
children of all ages.
Oh, shit. I forgot that I have a tiny stomach, and all of a sudden I got a stabbing pain as I was making my glug glug noises. Oh, it hurts so much. It hurts so much. Oh,
Ow.
no. Okay.
All right.
Serious faces, serious we are very serious podcasters here, and we probably have a bunch of new listeners because Justin Hill is on this episode. Woo-hoo! And I am making glug glug noises into the microphone and then almost dying because I have a tiny stomach.
Yeah, don't die. Don't die. For a lot of reasons, don't die. All right. So, like we said, we are episode 102. Today we are
and it's
talking
just the two of us right now.
Yeah.
But I try to get John. Jason, I know that I just interrupted you while you were talking, but I think it's very important that I should note that I tried to get John, our buddy John, Skip John.
Yeah. Skippy.
I talked to him last night, and he said he was busy today. How dare he? How I give him 12 hours notice, and he refuses to come on our show.
Well, he had to go elope or something, whatever.
Yeah, he went to Vermont to elope. So it's just the two of us talking about Cadia today. But that's fine. That's fine. Three of us technically, if you count Mr. Justin Hill.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, Jason?
Oh, what have I been up to? What have I been up to? Well, let's see. Oh, yeah, I've been painting and reading and building and all that lovely stuff. So on the painting stuff, like, I've decided I'm just not going to talk about what I build until after I get it painted, because then it's done, and then it's like an extra level of responsibility, I guess. I don't know.
So are you saying that you don't want the listeners to give you crap about stuff that you said you built and haven't painted yet?
No one's bothered me about it, actually.
Oh. Okay.
Surprisingly, it was just more of, me griping at myself. I don't want to, So anyway, so I got a couple of things. So remember whenever I went and did the Vindicare Assassin build? That was so much fun. I enjoyed it. And then I built that 30K Special Snowflake Agent of Malkador character. Well, I kind of realized that Knight Errant Imperial, Agent of Malkador looked a lot like a Calidus assassin. And then I realized that I had
so this is what you're talking about when you said you accidentally fell into a Calidus assassin.
Yeah, like I just built the guy because it was like, let's build something fun, that will be very Thousand Suns. And then after I built it, I was looking at the Calidus' stats. I'm like, oh, well, I just did that. So I have a Calexis stand-in with the Imperial Space Marine, and I have the Vindicare guy that I built. And then I have this Calidus. I thought, I'll just build an Eversor, whatever. And so I built that guy, painted him up and everything. I just need to kind of find a game, but I went through and called up the Deathwatch Assassins. They're all Deathwatch. They all have the Deathwatch shoulder pad except for the Calidus. And, it's a lot of fun to paint all those guys. And then, so that's, painting black, and that's cool. And I'd kind of had it, to be perfectly honest. I didn't want to paint any more black for a while, just because it was, not that it was boring, it's just I've been doing it. So I decided to paint up a Death Guard Termi list. Like a Loyalist 30K, 11 Terminators total. And, their colors are green and white. I was like, well, this is Death Guard. They don't clean their armor in 30K. They just kind of let it go. And which gave me a chance to really experiment with washes and different ways of weathering and going
technical
through
paints, maybe.
Yeah, like instead of what was it? Instead of using a sponge technique for the metal, I just figured out another technique that would do about the same thing. So they're pretty cool. The nice thing is because each one of them is supposed to be, these guys they just don't clean their armor. That meant that everyone's armor could be weathered in a little bit different way. And so I used, a lot of different washes to try and have heavy wear versus light wear and whatnot. And then I was looking at the Chain Fist guys, and one of them I decided, I was looking at the technical paint, the Blood for the Blood God, and I just happened to see a picture of, remember Carrie?
Yeah.
Sissy Spacek, she's drenched in blood. And I kind of looked at the Chain.
Plug it up.
Yeah, I looked at the Chain Fist guy and went, okay, I understand, and just basically almost washed half of him in the Blood for the Blood God.
Well, that's what would happen. I mean,
they'll have different levels of they'll have different levels of how much blood is on them. But one of the guys just he just kind of looks. Part of him looks like the Carrie character. So yeah, so that's
you just name him Sissy.
It's quite possible. Well, I mean that's he's a tough guy. He can handle something tough like Sissy or Alice. Or Sally even.
Sissy kills her entire high school class.
Yeah, you don't get much tougher than that.
That's freaking hardcore. She flips a car and sets her mother on fire.
Wow. Yeah. So Sissy might be a really good name for this character. So anyways, that's the building and painting. I was pretty stoked that I managed to crank out 11 termies basically in about a week. Week and a half, just, that was kind of nice. And I was actually taking it slow because I thought, nah, I'm not supposed to paint this stuff this fast, but whatever. Let's see, then reading. All right, well, later we'll be interviewing Justin D. Hill. And so I read Cadia Stands, which is his new novel that's out today or so.
Yes, it was today. And everybody... we have some minor spoilers in it, but it's more like the spoilers are more like if you watch a movie trailer and it doesn't have a movie trailer without a lot of spoilers in it. So we talk about a few things, but it was really just a taste in the hopes that you'll pick up the novel. And I hope you pick up the novel. Yeah,
I do too. I was really impressed with it. The first two sentences are my favorite. I will not spoil those. So,
no, we will, because we're going to actually read that entire intro later.
Oh, yeah, so sorry, we're going to spoil that. First two sentences are my favorite, though. I mean, the rest of the book is great, but those first two sentences are pretty rad. So Cadia Stands, read that, and then I read Lost Hope, which is one of his other short stories. And,
which we do spoil.
Yeah, we kind of, that one we
Lost
we
Hope and Last Step Backward.
Yeah.
We spoil those short stories. So go on blacklibrary.com and pick up your copies of those short stories if you're interested in reading them. They're $5 each. Don't hurt yourself.
Yep.
Just go ahead and buy those and read those before you continue on.
Yeah, definitely. They're the Lost Hope and Last whatever. They're rather short.
Yeah.
I also read Death Warrant, which is a Space Sharks short story. That one's pretty cool. I like that one. I'm liking how the Space Sharks are coming along. Let's see. I will start reading both Storm of Damocles and First Heretic next. I'm going to blame Justin Hill for this because, one, Storm of Damocles is one of his books, and I really do like his writing. And two, First Heretic is actually where we first see Cadia. And we'll talk about that later in the show. So, what about you, Adam? What are you up to?
Not a lot. A lot. Well,
yeah.
Not a lot. Well, okay.
A lot, dude. A lot. Just be honest.
I have figured out why I sometimes, I I didn't realize it, but sometimes I'll get into this kick where I get kind of depressed and start playing a lot of video games, and I realize what's happening. It's when I start trying to do too many things at once, my brain turns off and says nope and decides to do not things. So I've been playing a lot of Diablo, and the reason for that is because I've started to take on too much again. So in addition to the diet and everything that I have with that and everyday stuff and stuff at work, like we're doing this thing where we're doing like an open house for all the agencies and to show, all our super cool website stuff. And that's just been a project. Like I've actually brought my sound recording equipment to work, and I've been doing sound editing at work. So that's been on my mind. And I finally started working on that orc terrain for Frontline Gaming. And that is not models. It's not my armies, so it's annoying to me a little bit. But I did promise I would do it, and we need it for the Golden Sprue Cup, so cry me a river, get it done, right? So I'm working on that. Now, having said that, the terrain is freaking awesome. Yeah. Super awesome. The L-shaped buildings and the towers especially are super awesome. I highly recommend those kits. So I've been editing video for that, which has been kind of a pain in the butt. But I think we've got it. You're going to split the audio and the video for me so I can edit the audio. I appreciate that a lot because the audio does need some help. So I'll be able to get in there and pull out some of the artifacts and clean up the background noise, and it'll sound a lot nicer. And I've started... I went on vacation. Saw some of my family in Indiana, so I was doing that. And the prospect of that is always stressful to me, so it always kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety because, some of your family you get along with, some of your family are totally different animals to you, so, it can be tough. Like, I didn't go last year at all because of the political climate, but it was a really nice time. I had a great time, so all of that's behind me, and I had a wonderful time, and I'm very happy that I went. And I am gutting the game room. So while I recorded Altar of War episode 5 about a week ago with Jared, and you would have already heard that one. That one came out last week. And I recorded episode 6 with Josh and Bill yesterday. And while they were playing their game, I was taking all the stuff out of the game room. I think I got half of it. I still have half of it to go. Dude, my patio is full of stuff, and I still have stuff to take out. It is there is like 8 years of refuse in there that I have to get rid of. And I have like 100 issues of Dragon magazine that I'm just going to burn. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Aww. So yeah, I'm getting rid of a bunch of stuff. And yeah, hey listeners, if you're interested in back issues of Dragon magazine from the 3.5 and the 3.0 era, let me know, because they're gonna go in the garbage. Or I'm gonna have the nerdiest garage sale ever.
That could be useful. Yeah,
that could be a thing. So we're gutting that. I have a table that I built myself about maybe 15 years ago now. Yeah. And it's got shelves. It's got like drawers in it that you can put your stuff in. Each player space has a little drawer, and it has this pulpit at the end for the dungeon master. Yeah, it's pretty cool, but it's huge, it's heavy, it's ungainly, and it's not the right height. And the surface is very warped. Well, it's not warped, it's just very bumpy because I didn't have a planer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna drill out all the screws, take all the pieces out, and I'm going to give the 12-inch boards to my coworker, who he's going to plane them for me, and I'm going to rebuild that table.
Oh, cool. Good.
Yeah, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles. I mean, it's still going to have the charging stations.
Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really useful. Yeah, it's still going to have the charging stations, but I'm going to take the drawers out. Those aren't necessary. And I'm going to shorten it to the size of a regular table. And I'm just going to have legs. You can that will let you prop it up for $40K for when you're doing miniatures games.
Got it.
So I'll just be able to switch between 40K height and role-playing height. So that should be good. I can't wait to do that. But I'm going to paint the room. I'm going to put new carpet down. I have to replace a window, and I'm going to try to put in a door too. I'm not sure. It's an old house.
Yeah.
The door may not be a rectangle. I'm pretty sure the doorway is a trapezoid. So that might be a little weird. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But that's what I've been up to, Jason. I'm really looking forward to finishing the orc terrain. I did the one video, which is the assembly. I'm going to do another video for customizing the orc terrain, and then I'm going to do a third video for painting.
Yeah.
After that, I'm looking forward to continuing work on the Chaos Warband I'm working on.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm very excited about the Noise Marines, and I'm super excited about doing possibly a big squad of, just a full squad of cultists to charge across the board with Mark of Slaanesh. And I definitely am gonna get some regular cultists, but I also am looking forward to maybe picking up some of the Necromunda miniatures. The new Necromunda miniatures to put in there. I think those will work really well.
Yeah.
And a few other things. I think there's a lot of miniatures out there that I can add to that cultist squad to make them unique.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem with the cultist sculpts, is that there's only 10?
Mm-hmm.
Is there that many? There just aren't a whole lot of unique sculpts, and so you start seeing those duplicates. Yeah, they're awesome. But you see the duplicates real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, because they're so unique.
Yeah. Well, especially the cool guy who's carrying the auto gun with the...
Oh, he's so rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. So that's where I am with that. Looking forward to that. We'll give you guys another update in the next episode. Also, I wanted to apologize. I did in the last episode say that this was going to be about the Fate of Conor campaign, but with the new Cadia book coming out and some scheduling issues, we had to switch up the topics, and that's fine. I guess we could have recorded that episode and sent this out a week later, but with the new bi-weekly format, I don't want to be late on episodes. I think that would be...
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if we're weekly, but if we're bi-weekly, we should be able to get our episodes out on time.
Yeah.
So there's that. I also wanted to bring up any of the upcoming events in our area or our general vicinity. First of all, Armies on Parade is coming out. You should just be able to check your local Games Workshop and find out when you can bring your miniatures in to be judged for Armies on Parade. Everyone, go on and give it a try. We're going to actually give it a try this year. John and I are going to be going. I'm not sure who else, if anyone else is going. We're going to be going to the one in Connecticut, I think. Mm-hmm. Then we have Battle for Salvation, October 6th and 8th. That's in the New York City area. Just go ahead and do a search in Facebook for Battle for Salvation. Those are great guys. I can never make it because my anniversary is the 8th, and it's always that weekend, so I can never go. But so, folks, please check out Battle for Salvation. Great bunch of folks there. We're having a RTT, a small tournament, a single-day tournament on October 21st. Mm-hmm. Come on up to Flipside Gaming in East Greenbush, New York for that. We're going to be doing tricks and treats. We're going to be doing prizes for best treat and a prize for best costume. as well as the usual prizes. That is going to be an ITC ranked single day event. Then we have the Portal GT, October 28th or the 29th. I am going to that with a bunch of the guys, so please check out the Portal, which is in Connecticut. They're an awesome group of competitive players and a great bunch of people. So give that a try. If you see me there, say hi. I'm going to be playing my Imperial Knights.
All right.
Well, I was like, I saw this Imperial Guard Codex, and I'm like, I want to play Catechin so bad.
Nope.
I'll sell my Knights.
No.
But then you guys got mad at me, so
yeah.
Fine. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I'm allowed to bring it to this event, and I'm also allowed to bring it to Du Bois GT.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, which is coming up in November. November 17th and the 19th is the Du Bois GT. And that is a premier event. That is an amazing event. I strongly recommend it for everyone. You need to check out this event. Just do a search for Du Bois GT on Facebook. You will not regret it. Again, if you see me there, say hi. Last but not least, we have the Golden Sprue Cup coming up January 13th and the 14th. That is Martin Luther King Day weekend. That'll be up here in East Greenbush, New York. Please come and get your points. It'll be right before the Las Vegas Open. We're going to have a bunch of cool stuff. The first day, obviously, is the GT, the main GT preliminary rounds. The second day is going to be a whole bunch of fun events for people who are not interested in finishing up their last two games of the GT. All right, we're going to have team tournament. We're going to have friendly events. We're going to have an apocalypse game that Mike and Phil are helping with. It's going to be a lot of fun. Arky Dan from Tectonic Craft says he'll give us some terrain at cost or at low cost for that one. So I'm trying to get scrape together the cash to pay him, and we're gonna work with him to 8th editionize some of his designs too. So
even
that
better.
Should be a lot of fun. Yeah,
that'll be fun.
I think that's enough of that. Don't you think? I think we should dive into the lore of Cadia. What do you think?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Stick around. We'll be right back with Cadia in the lore.
Hey, mofos. Are you looking for more Warhammer 40k video content? Well, the Scarredcast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarredcast, Skared on YouTube.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows, where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40k background.
The NGC 40k podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40k to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Aw, come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotobix.
Yes, you had.
Zotobix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert deserts.
Ah!
Zotobix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached. So, the Astra Militarum. I think, with the new codex out, and also some interesting things about Cadia is the fact that they are the Astra Militarum.
Yeah.
So I think we should talk a little bit about just the Astra Militarum in general before we dive into Cadia specifically. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. That's probably a good idea to start at the beginning and then go to the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since everybody just listened to me talk for like 15 minutes straight in the last segment, why don't you start us off with some Astra Militarum knowledge, Jason?
All right. So, first of all, I am not the lore master for the Guard. I'm not calling
Right. Well,
them.
that would be John. That would be John Hizzy Dizzy Skip John, and he apparently can't
not
make
eloping.
the time to come hang out with us with only 12 hours notice. Apparently, someone is too cool for school now that he's got a sweet girlfriend.
Yeah, and they're not eloping, from what I understand. So.
Oh, they're not?
I think so. I don't know. I've been texting him about it, so whatever. I'm not going any farther with that joke because it could get bad real quick.
That's
All right.
fine. That's
So
fine.
here we go. So I don't have a whole lot of lore to talk about, but one of the things I found interesting was the Imperial Army. So the Imperial Army, not the Guard, not the Navy, blah, blah. They came into being during the Great Crusade before the Horus Heresy. And they were used to help keep worlds in compliance, right? And this is a combined force consisting of the Navy and the Guard. After the heresy began, just so we're all clear, each legion had Guard assigned to it. So what happened was the traitor legions, their guards, they went with the traitor legions. And so after the heresy was finished, the Imperial Army was split into the Imperial Navy, which took care of all spaceborne fighting, and the Imperial Guard. And this was to really keep them from having something like the heresy happen to them again, to keep them from going traitor.
Yeah, and that's why the Imperial, when you look at the different, there's a similar thing with the ships of the Imperial Navy and the ships of the Space Marines, very different. And the Imperial Navy, if you were to send a fleet of battle barges against a fleet of Imperial Navy ships, on paper, the Imperial Navy ships should clean the clocks of the battle barges, simply due to the fact that they have lances with a range long enough to annihilate any battle barge.
Right.
They did that on purpose so that you had this separation of powers in the military. Yeah.
And the fun thing is that after the heresy is whenever commissars were induced. Basically, as watchdogs, rooting out cowards, heretics, malcontents, and lovers of puns. I had to add that last thing. I had to.
Yes, that's fantastic.
But it's just kind of amazing. I was not aware of this. I know that the Imperial Army does show up in the Horus Heresy, but I haven't read enough about them in those books to really, I guess, create an opinion. I think that's what the Talarn books are about, but I have not read those.
Right. Okay.
So now we're talking about the Imperial Guard and the way that they are organized. Do you want to take over for that one?
Yeah. So they're extremely regimented. like the organization is almost to a fault, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. The new codex has a beautiful set of charts to show you how the Astra Militarum is divided by company and regiment and all that. All that you really need know is the fact that they are regimented. And it's important that this happen. I think it makes things easier logistically. So like if you say, oh, I need las guns for a company, a standard battle company. Well, boom, they could already have all of that pre-sorted in shipping containers. Like, oh, you need one regiment of supplies. Okay, here are the shipping containers for that. They don't need to sit there and count it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually quite helpful, right? Like it keeps things organized. It keeps things less wasteful, which is good because the Imperium is super duper wasteful.
Yeah. Yeah, they seem to have that issue. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in even in the novel that we read, Cadia Stands, you see where plans have been set up ahead of time.
Yeah.
And when I don't want to spoil anything, but people expect things to show up at certain times and be ready at certain times.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready, well, it sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Because you should have followed you should have followed the plan, right?
Yeah, and they also have stockpiles, which we won't go into. But I mean, stockpiles, they're just ready for bodies.
Contingencies.
To get them moving, like they're hanging out in like sanctuaries or something like that.
Yeah.
See? Non-spoiler, spoiler. Or spoiler, non-spoiler? Whatever.
Spoiler, not spoiler. Guard forces are generally mustered from worlds that are near the conflict. So you don't think of guard regiments like as if they were Space Marine chapters.
Yeah.
Where you have this, maybe Cadia. So it's interesting, right? Like if you have a conflict that borders two different regiments, you're going to get forces from both of those regiments.
Yeah.
Okay. So because time is of the essence. So forces are mustered from the worlds near that conflict. If that's not sufficient to quell the conflict, the sphere gets wider and wider and wider from where these regiments are built until that threat is neutralized. Like they pile bodies on the problem until the problem is solved. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's usually enough. Like most of the time, the Space Marines don't even show up.
Yeah.
You just throw guard at it until the problem is solved itself.
This is kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me of how the Black Legion, like they work. It's like, oh yeah, you're going to do this.
Throw cultists at it.
Yeah, here, have more cultists. We're just going to keep throwing them at you until you go away. Yeah.
It really sucks to be a regular human person in the 41st millennium. It really does.
Yeah.
So in this way, soldiers from different worlds are expected to act homogeneously. So you could have people from feral worlds, from hive worlds, from fortress worlds, all mustered together and put into a regiment. And it does work. I mean, after a while, you do some training in some confined spaces in the space of the hold of a starship, and you're going to come out of that starship as a team. And that's a pretty cool way to look at it, I guess. The Imperial Guard also has a lot of representation in the High Lords. The Lord Commander Militant is the head honcho, the big cheese, numero uno. Subservient to that person are the Lord Commanders, who are each in charge of a segmentum. Now, War Master is a special rank for commanders in charge of a single large crusade. Usually there's only one of those at a time. And it's actually considered cursed.
Yep.
A lot of the time, that person is referred to as the Lord Solar instead, because again, the enmity of that title. Then you have Lord Generals Militant, who are in charge of single operations, and Lord Generals themselves, like just Lord General, are commanders of entire armies. Lord Castellan Creed is one of these Lord Generals. So that title, along with all the lesser ranks, can change based on the culture of the regiment or the army.
Yeah.
Okay. So they might all have a different thing. Like they might not say lieutenant, they might say lieutenant.
Yeah.
It might be sergeant, might be squad leader, might be, it could be any of those things. Corporal, whatever.
Yeah, they're just renaming.
You might have a whole bunch of different ranks, and if you're coming up with your own Astra Militarum army, feel free to get creative with your ranks, because I think that's a lot of fun. You might want to base it on your favorite real life army, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all up to you.
Yeah, I'm guessing like maybe the Vestroyans would have different titles, as well as the Cadians and the Mordians and all those other groups.
Mm-hmm.
So real good opportunity for you to really model your army. All right, so back to the lore. So as you may have guessed, powerful commanders can fall out of favor with the High Lords or gain too much power, and they are often sent on a dangerous crusade never to be seen again. Yeah, that's a great way to, you're being difficult? Well, we're going to do this. Kind of reminds me of the retired judges in Judge Dredd, It's like, well, it's time for you to go away now. Go over there. So, so recent activity for the Guard. Of course, Gene Stealer cults have been emerging with renewed vigor because they're Gene Stealer cults and they're everywhere.
And we have a model line now.
Yeah, that helps, doesn't it? Regiments are still holding some assets on Armageddon because why not?
They're gluttons for punishment, and there's no exit strategy.
Yeah. The only exit strategy is probably Exterminatus, and you know, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, Armageddon's a sacred cow at this point. You can't Exterminatus that world.
Yeah, I'd kind of wondered why it didn't happen before. Whenever I'd read about the other Crusades, until spoiler maybe Armageddon was Eleanor. Sorry if I spoiled that for anybody. So yeah, we're not giving that one up. That's ours. So yeah, let's see what else. Many regiments of the Guard have joined Guilliman in the Indominus Crusade because that's just fun. The Guard, including the Mordians, fight off the denizens of the Warp along the Great Rift, along countless fronts and against countless different incarnations of chaos. Which, if you've looked at the galactic map in the big rulebook, there's a lot of places they could be.
Literally countless. Okay, maybe not literally countless, but
it'd
enough
take a
where
while.
I'll say literally, and it doesn't matter that it's not literally, because it's billions of worlds.
There are very few people who are going to take the time to count that. Not that there isn't someone, but very few. The Valhallans will fight off orcs who seem to be showing no signs of exhaustion because they're orcs. They've gotten stuck in. That's it.
Oh, it's like Christmas for them.
Yeah, man. I mean, a good fight is, that's like a birthday party and Christmas and every other wonderful thing all rolled into one.
Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah. Cinco de Mayo. Whatever.
Yep.
So
the orcs are definitely leaving a chair for Elijah at the table. And by Elijah, I mean Gazgul Mag Uruk Thraka, who I can't wait to see what he looks like after 100 years.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying we need a new model.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the new, Death Watch campaign that Mini Wargaming is doing, but they've basically modeled, it's a Death Watch version of the orcs. They're just using ogrins for all their orcs. You know, it's like, these guys are supposed to be tough, so we're going to use these ogrins as models. And it's just like, that's
awesome. That's
a brilliant idea. That kind of made me rethink some of the stuff I'm wanting to do with orcs. Let's see. Oh, Tyranids. Of course, Tyranids. They're emerging from the midst of various warp storms, seeming to strike from nowhere, because why not? And their tendrils take up vast swaths of space, which makes travel dangerous, and it does impede the guard's ability to respond to threats, because, like Visa or MasterCard, they're everywhere.
And they're hungry, too. It seems like they're...
Yeah.
The Cicatrix Maledictum is kind of starving the Tyranids, and they're hungry for biomass.
Interesting. Yeah, because they can't travel as well. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so dozens of army groups have been redirected toward Zone Ultramar to fight the threat of the Death Guard, because that's 8th edition. We're going to go smack around some Death Guard.
So, let's get into the lore of Cadia itself, shall we?
Yes.
Cadia is a fortress world with a culture of war. Why is this? Well, there is this thing called the Cadian Gate, which is very near like the heart of the Eye of Terror. But for some reason, the space near it is fine. And we know now it's because of these pylons. Mm-hmm. So Cadia is kind of in the Eye of Terror, but the area around it is safe. So because of that, they have a good view of anything that Abaddon tries to do vis-a-vis coming out of the warp and killing stuff. So because of that, Cadia has become very important. I always kind of wondered what the deal was with Cadia. Why doesn't Abaddon just leave the Eye of Terror from another vector?
Yeah.
And it's because, like I said, this like finger of real space is kind of pointing into the Eye of Terror, and Cadia has a good view of stuff that's going on and what's leaving the Eye of Terror. So Cadia has always been this target for the Black Legion and for these campaigns that Abaddon launches into real space. It all started kind of even during the Scouring, which is the era of time immediately following the Horus Heresy, when the forces of chaos were chased back into the Eye of Terror. Cadia was fortified by the Imperium, and those fortifications at that time were second only to second only to Terra itself. So imagine, if you will, all of the hidey holes and nooks and crannies that could exist on Cadia, all the old information, all the secrets that Cadia might actually hold even to this day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not for nothing, but it stands to reason that not only because of the pylons, but I can imagine Abaddon would be very interested in a lot of the things that can be gained by assaulting and taking Cadia.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I mean, that's kind of what I got from that little bit of information.
Yeah.
So Cadians themselves are super prepared for war. By age 5, a Cadian should be able to field strip and reassemble a las gun. At the age of 6, they're already expert shots. And by the age of 7, they are exposed to the perils of the warp.
Wow.
Which, that seems like kind of a huge undertaking for every child on Cadia.
Yeah.
But what we learn in Cadia Stands is that the Eye of Terror is looking at the Eye of Terror is kind of like looking into the sun.
Yep.
Even children understand that it's kind of dumb to look into the sun. It's part of our behavior as a human being not to stare into the sun. because it can hurt you. And it's the same for every other animal. So the Eye of Terror is similar. You don't look at the Eye of Terror. But that's part of the indoctrination for a Cadian child. The parents have them stare into the Eye of Terror and defy it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that
with Justin.
Yeah.
By the age of 16, they are well trained and indoctrinated into the Canadian White Shields. These are similar to conscripts in other cultures. They're just better trained, and they have this white stripe that goes from the front to the back of their helmets. The infantry regiments are called shock troops. They're disciplined and excellent shots. According to the new rulebook, they are super good shots. Just spoiler alert on that one. Holy moly. They're excellent shots.
Woohoo.
And the shock troops at this point are so involved in the warrior culture that they have this gallows humor, and it just represents their acceptance of the reality of their situation. They're not cold machines like the Krieg. Instead they're very human, but they're just humans who have this PTSD / acceptance of their situation. The last group are the Kazarkin. The Kaz are what they kind of call their fortresses, and the Kazarkin are the elite stormtroopers of Cadia. So they're kind of the Astra, or the what are they called?
The Scions.
Yeah, they're kind of the Tempestus Scions of the Cadians.
Yeah, I've actually got I actually have a small group of them that a friend of mine gave me that are quite fun to paint.
Oh, cool.
Of course, they're the old metal models, so they've got issues, but they are pretty cool. I do like them. I've actually painted them as what did I do them as? Oh, I was painting them as acolytes and whatnot for an Inquisitor, because I really have no interest
for Santa.
Yeah, for Santa. Santa needs his guys to help him out, you know. And
well, he needs his elves, right?
That's right. These are his elves. I didn't paint them red.
They're giving you plasma presents.
That's right. They are. I do have the heavy weapons options. So yeah, they are. All right. So the history of Cadia, and really the Cadians, is before the Horus Heresy. So Cadia actually has a fairly long history. Cadia was inhabited by humans that worshipped the Chaos Gods. Yay! And who rediscovered these guys? Rediscovered Cadia? Lorgar and the Word Bearers.
Oh, good.
Isn't that great? And at that point, he had not turned to Chaos, but he had already had the... what's the word I'm looking for? The experience with the Emperor and the Ultramarines smashing all of this stuff because he was worshiping the Emperor. If you're really interested in this time period, you can read The First Heretic by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. The fun thing, because it is Lorgar, after he visited, he then ordered a cyclonic bombardment of the planet, which wiped out the inhabitants. Yeah, because why not? But I guess I'm going to read that next, First Heretic, or Storm of Damocles next. I haven't decided. It's going to be one of those two. Anyway, after the cyclonic bombardment, the planet, of course, was uninhabited, and so the planet was recolonized in M32 after the First Black Crusade. Essentially, the First Crusade happened, and the Imperium realized we have to have someone here to protect us, to be that bulwark.
Yeah.
And then from what I understand, between the First and Second Black Crusade, they built up. The Second Crusade came in and I guess smashed the place to pieces, and so they hadn't designed the world properly. Like, they had broad avenues and whatnot, so they needed to redesigned to make sure that it made it a little bit more difficult to invade.
Well, little more difficult. Every single building, every single street, everything from schools to hospitals to fortresses to freaking childcare centers are built with combat in mind.
Yeah.
Everything is a fortress.
Everything's a bunker.
They're like, everything's a bunker. Everything's like this Ferrocrete. Everything, there are little firing points everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything can be held. That's why it's so difficult that's why it takes months for Abaddon to take Cadia.
And their defenses are second only to Terra, to be honest, because they're so well fortified. And when you read Cadia Stands from Justin, you'll see some really cool stuff, especially some street fighting stuff.
There's some great street fighting in the novel.
Yeah, there really is, and there's a rattling sniper that I might have to build. Great. Anyway, so let's see. So many times Abaddon struck out from the Eye of Terror throughout the millennia, but the Cadians keep holding him back. And in the early development of the Astra Militarum, so post-Horus Heresy, Cadian shock troops were sent to many war zones to teach other regiments of the Imperial Army the new principles of warfare, which meant that really the Imperial Guard has been based off of what Cadia has done. So they're kind of the blueprint for everybody else, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, Cadians are not the poster child of the Astra Militarum. The Astra Militarum are the poster child of the Cadians. Yeah.
Yep.
I get that doesn't really make any sense, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The Cadia is the origination of this style of warfare, and they were sent out throughout the galaxy to teach other regiments how to fight.
Yeah.
I thought that was such an interesting point. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
A very interesting thing to learn.
Yeah, I'm not interested in building a guard army just because I really don't want to paint eyes. And I really don't want to paint eyes. But there's a lot of stuff in here that's really fascinating that I'm really enjoying reading that I hadn't always enjoyed, reading guard stuff before.
Well, I think it's the human aspect, right?
Yeah.
When we read about Golgotha and Gunheads, that was a really great book, and that was also Cadian. So if you want to, we've done an episode on that, but if you're a newer listener, go ahead and read Gunheads.
Yeah.
And then listen to the episode.
That was Steve Parker, right?
Steve Parker. It was really good. So the Cadians have been pretty much everywhere in recent years. They still are kind of the carriers of this style of warfare, and they go around and they're very prevalent throughout the galaxy. Again, they've been to Golgotha recently. There's the St. Cilia Aftermath.
Yeah.
Knight Commander Pask led a massive year-long tank engagement along with some Knight houses to annihilate an entire Chaos Titan Legion.
Yeah, that was... In Cadia Stands, there's actually... Pask shows up and he's Titan hunting. And it was just really funny. We're both laughing because, it wasn't like it was a... I don't remember it being that humorous of a write, but it was really funny because he's just like nonchalant, like, okay, got that one. It's like, it's 5 kilometers. I've only picked up 2 of them. It's like, okay, all right, cool.
The Cadian holdings on Orient are assaulted by the Eldari. There are sealed contingency orders that Creed had drawn up, and then were like revealed throughout the engagement, just really showing his tactical genius. He's like, oh yeah, if this happens, you need to open up. It's like a choose your own. His orders were like a choose your own adventure. Like, oh, if this happens, open up envelope number 37. Everyone needs a little booklet from Creed that you can open up in case of certain contingencies. you have Warzone Damocles, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about again.
Yeah.
And we do talk about again during this episode. Then we have Warzone, Cadia, and the 13th Black Crusade. Again, we've discussed this at great length, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about the book, but the lore spans decades of real-world time. From 3rd edition, I think even 2nd edition 40k, 5th edition, like the Battle of Tyrock Fields was a 5th edition story.
Yeah.
You have this huge engagement where Abaddon is coming out for the last time to destroy all of the pylons and cause the warp to seep out into real space. The Volscani Cataphracts turn traitor and commandeer the governor's Leviathan command vehicle, Fortress Imperium, and the command structure is eliminated. The Lucky Seven, the 7th Cadian Guard, the Lucky Sevens are cut down, and the 7th banner is actually carried by no fewer than 12 troopers during the engagement. Creed takes command and recaptures the vehicle, and he is instated as the Lord Castellan.
I've never read the Battle of Tyrock Fields. I'll have to...
I think it was in the Codex.
Was it in the Codex?
5th edition Codex.
Okay.
Or, yeah, the 5th edition Guard Codex.
I'll see if I can find that.
The Emperor's Tarot is consulted, defense is bolstered, calls for aid are broadcast far and wide, but Abaddon's forces attack, and 99 regiments fight in Creed's last stand.
Wow.
He disappears, and Kell is killed by Abaddon himself after spitting in his face. I remember that part. We talked about this when we covered the campaign book.
Book 3.
Yes, and if you listen to our episode, that's good. The book is okay. 3 million Cadians remain now out of billions.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
Cadia stands, but now on transport vessels rather than on Cadia herself.
That's pretty amazing. I'm kind of curious what GW will do with the Cadia, regiments. How are they going to? I don't know. It kind of reminds me now of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Justin Hill has some interesting things to say about that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops. Do you want to talk a little bit about Cadia in the hobby, Jason?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. So we have some regiments. We have all sorts of different color schemes, such as for the Red 108th, we have the Crimson Guard, which is, I'm assuming, going to be red and probably a bone color, but I could be wrong on the bone color. Is it bone?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
It's like bone, brownish bone, yeah.
All right. Blood Ravens. All right. So the Blood Ravens got it from someone. Good job. All right. And then we have the Green Fatigues of the 717th Huntsman. What's really cool and what's kind of great about the whole Guard line is, the Guard is supposed to be homogeneous. And so you can go through and actually, just with color schemes, you can go through and create your own Guard unit, your own Cadians, or you can go with something completely different. The stormtroopers that I have that are part of the inquisitorial list, I have them painted in kind of a gray, black, and orange, just because I never painted orange before, and I was experimenting on creating a nice, shaded black. Not that it was, that was just the way. That was just what I chose. Not, Halloween or anything like that. But I just wanted to see what those colors would look like together. And they're also metal models, so I expect them to chip if I look at them sideways. Yeah. So, and then, were you going to go through and do a Guard army, or what are you thinking about?
Well, here's the thing. I am looking at the Codex, and I'm thinking I will have a fun time if I build a unit of catechins.
Yeah.
And I've kind of always wanted to try and do a army in the proper... I've always wanted to kind of do one of those, like, just actually do the scheme of the thing.
Yeah.
and not do something totally new, which sounds silly to say, but when you've been doing your own thing for so long, it's actually a novel approach to go ahead and do something actually by the book.
Yeah.
However, now that I've been thinking about it for a while, and John actually had a good suggestion. He's like, well, you have these Diggas. Wouldn't they be fine to use for catechins?
Yeah.
And he's right. And I only have about 1,000 points of Diggas.
Mm-hmm.
Though I have a few platoons, and I have like 3 platoons, not platoons, what are they? Squads.
Yeah.
A few infantry squads, and I have a few Lehman Russ and a Chimera. I have a Commissar,
yes.
and I have some stuff. So I would need to find more Diggas, and I went on eBay.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, they're so expensive. I wish I could remember who gave me who gave me those Diggas, because I thanked them.
Yeah.
I clearly did not thank them enough, because they gave me literally hundreds of dollars worth of Digga models.
Whoa.
Seriously, they're expensive. So I might pick up thank you, whoever you are. I wish I could remember who it was. Damn it.
I think we named... I think you said his name.
We might have named them I need to go back and find the episode, because holy moly. Anyways, I think if I pick up some more catechins...
Yeah.
Or some catechins, they'll probably be fine to mix in with those units.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get some more tanks. Got some hellhounds and stuff. Those orcify them, and that'll be fine. I'll do that. Anyways, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not sure what I'll do as far as, in the future. I guess technically my Emperor's Children are by the color scheme.
Yeah.
But the Emperor's Children, the modern Emperor's Children color scheme is basically whatever you want anyways.
As long as it hurts your eyes, I think is the... it's the
requirement. Well, actually, the one on the GW site is black with pink highlights. It's not what I'm doing. So
seriously?
even my Emperor's Children color scheme is off the reservation. So
yeah, but your scheme is actually closer to like the End of the Horse Heresy scheme, to be honest. Like all the colors, all the Let's see if we can burn out your retinas.
So anyways, that's where we're at there, and that's fine. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, if you were to build an Imperial Guard army, where would you go with it? Would you go with like Scions, go for an elite group?
Thinking about it, because like I have thought about how I would do that. I would probably build a Baneblade first, or some variant, and that would be the kind of what I build everything else around, and then probably Scions, because I like the look of those models, and I don't have to paint eyes, and I probably wouldn't have to have a Commissar, or would I? I don't. I'm not to be rude, but I really don't want to deal with any Commissars unless I make Santa my Commissar, because that would be ridiculous, and I like ridiculous. So
I appreciate ridiculous myself.
But seriously, I think I'd base everything around a Baneblade, and then kind of build up from there. And I would talk to my friends who actually, everyone I know that plays Guard, you and Skip and Mike, talk to you guys like what would work thematically. And it could be I just end up doing like a armored list and have some Scions to jump out and grab objectives or something like that. I don't know. I have to think about that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. And we're gonna close out this segment in very shortly, but I'm gonna make sure to also get Skip to talk about his philosophy on building guard list and stuff for narrative play. I think he'll have a lot of insight and a lot to add to the conversation. So when I have my game with him and we record, I'm sure he'll be happy to expand on our discussion here.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, he's coming down on Tuesday, and we'll have a nice game, and we'll feature that in the next segment. Just hang tight, everyone. And then the segment after that, we're going to be talking to. No, we should probably do Justin first. Yes. The next segment is going to be the interview with Justin Hill about Cadia Stands, and then after that, we'll have our talk about our game with John and his Imperial Guard using the new Imperial Guard codex. Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Well, don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det ikke bikkje, det en slags ting. Den imiterer bikkje, men det ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said. Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
Oi! After an hard day's shopping, I like to head down to the pub and enjoy a good brew with me mates. Shopping hummies all day is hard smelly work, so's I likes to top myself up with something nice. Chopper body spray is not just a treat for you, it's a treat for the whole crew. Now available in Green Apple Grunt, Illinois After Dark, and Oopstill Pressed at Fragrances. Chopper body spray, don't make me axe you twice.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to jump in here real quick before we start this segment. There was some sound issues during it. There's no way to clean it up, and I just do not have the bandwidth in my week to re-record. So, again, I apologize. Please just bear with us, and it's just some clicking during the segment. But the content is worth listening to, I assure you. And we're back with John. Hi, John.
Hi.
Skip John.
Skip John.
Skip John. So, Skip John, we had a game with the new Astra Militarum codex, the Imperial Guard, the mighty hammer of the Imperium, phrasing. So, you decided to go ahead and use Cadians. Your army is Cadians, right?
That is correct.
Tell me the lore. What do you call your group?
I'm calling them the 317th Cadians. Basically, the army is built around an old Forge World datasheet that they came out with, where you had the Iron Saint, which is the shadow sword I had painted up previously. Mm-hmm. And you had a whole army group built around this one super heavy that basically was there to take damage for said super heavy. Mm-hmm. So essentially, the army is there to act as backup to this one vehicle shooting.
Oh, very exciting, very exciting. So why don't we run down your army list real quick, and We'll see. John has a really nice narrative. You know, we in our group we like to do narrative army lists, and you have a nice one. You have yours all laminated, so you can mark off the hull points and everything. That's super sweet.
Yeah, it's something I learned after my first game of 8th edition was basically having all the dice next to all the vehicles is great and all, but somebody will knock that over, most likely myself. And then if you're not keeping track and you got a ton of different tanks, you might not put the numbers back properly.
No.
So, and especially if you go to like a competitive setting, I'll have 2 pages laminated with dry erase markers of all my vehicles with the number of hull points when they start degrading, all their stats. I'll have one of them handed to my opponent, the other one I'll keep on the table, and I'll mark them off, and they can mark them off as they destroy vehicles.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's real nice. Back in the day, Curtis was doing that with his psychic powers when he was playing Eldar. He was running that insane Death Star of freaking Eldar bikers.
And
it really helped a lot.
And that's kind of where I got that idea from, because it really sped up 7th. And
well, the cool thing, you have your demarcation of like what tier of damage your vehicles are at marked. Like, so his first tier is all green, and then his second tier is all yellow, and then his third tier is all red. It looks like an old Marvel superheroes character sheet, but like he'll mark off the first wounds are green, so once there's no green left, he knows he's at the second tier, and then when there's no yellow left, he knows he's at the third tier. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I think you got a couple pictures of that up on the Facebook too, right?
I got it up on my Facebook page. I'll add it to the. I'll probably just go ahead and share those pictures on the Masters of the Forge page so you can see.
Awesome. My army list I brought tonight is kind of like what I was running in events and just kind of casually with the Guard. It was the Shadow Sword Super Heavy Vehicle, which, big change in this edition, it dropped like 50 points. It's 470 now. A couple weeks ago, it was 512.
And there's a few other important changes. We can do spoilers now that the pre-release is out. So it can move and shoot without penalty now, right? And what else? Oh, the gun is better, right?
The gun is a bit better. Before, it would fire D6 number of shots, and I cannot tell you the number of times I'd roll a 1, yell command reroll, and then promptly roll a 2. So, I mean, it's twice as good. But it's now a 3D3.
Right.
And the rest of the gun has stayed the same, so it's still that strength 16, AP minus 5.
That's so good. That kills Titans, because it's a +1 to hit Titans, right?
Yep. Anything with the Titanic keyword, it's +1.
Yeah, it one-shots Knights all the time. It's amazing.
Yeah, the gun, when it connects and the dice actually work for it, I've killed Titans. I've blown up an enemy Baneblade in one shot. Mortarion.
Yeah,
like he can die.
It literally feels like the warp opens up and sucks in whatever you shoot.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I mean, it's a volcano cannon.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
anything
pretty hot.
called anything. I hate you so much. Anything called I hate you so much. See, I was gonna give you one of these special coins.
Yeah, that's out now. That's done.
No.
Oh.
I'm not gonna give it to you.
Oh. Oh! Threw it right in my. Where did it even go? Oh.
Critical hit, center torso.
Ah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm not going to make any more puns now. Ooh. This coin has bought you immunity.
Oh, man, at least for a time.
For today.
It's called a reprieve, not immunity.
Oh, yeah. You got the little rainbow star from Mario right now. You're good for a few.
Okay. This is really good radio.
Yeah, we try.
Okay.
I took 2 company commanders. One of the company commanders, I took one of the new relics. This relic is pretty sweet. It's Cadians only, and that's like a theme in this codex here. You have a lot of different units, but your stratagems are focused kind of like chapter tactics. It's specific to your regiment. And there's actually a little blurb in here that specifically says, oh, if you wanted to make up your own, just choose one of these other regiments that kind of works for you.
Yeah. You mean you still have to use all the things? Like, you can't mix and match, like, warlord traits and
they're very specific
commands
about that.
And stuff. Like, Yeah, let's without further ado, why don't you go on with your list?
All right, I got a Lord Commissar, 2 Tempester Primes with command rods, a Commissar Salamander command vehicle, Tech Priest engine, Seer, Tempester Scion command squad with 3 plasma guns. Troops, I got 2 infantry squads with mortars, 1 conscript squad with 20 dudes, 3 Scion squads with 2 plasma guns in each. For fast attack, I got 3 Scout Sentinels and multi-lasers, heavy support, heavy weapons team with mortars, 2 Basilisks, and flyers, I got 2 of the finest Vulture gunships.
Now, the Vulture gunships do not have the
Cadian
regiment keyword?
No, they got the aerial group keyword, which at first, when I was looking at the stratagems, I was like, oh my goodness, and then when I looked it up, they didn't have it.
Yeah, no. Okay, so, but that actually did have quite an effect on their abilities. Like, there were a bunch of times where you would have really liked those reroll ones.
Yeah, with the Cadian's keyword in particular, if you stand still with a unit with the Cadian special roll, you get to reroll ones to hit. And if you had ordered an infantry squad or managed to get a conscript order off for the extra or the reroll ones to hit, and then you get that one, you just get to reroll all to hits.
Yeah, it's really good. And it feels like Cadians. Like, we've been talking, this episode is all about Cadians, and I really feel like their regimental ability is very much, or is that what they call them?
Born soldiers.
Born soldiers, okay. So that's literally what they are, and even their conscripts, even the white shields, are gonna have these really good abilities because they're better than everybody else.
Absolutely, and I really like what GW's done focusing on the conscripts because I know that's been a point of contention. They didn't increase the prices. The only thing they really did to them was in order to get an order off, you got to roll a 4+.
Yeah, and they made the infantry squads really good, where yes, you get the orders automatically, but also there are a few stratagems in there. You didn't use them in this one, but there's a few stratagems you can use, like the 1 command point to mob up. That's my favorite one so far, because I'm going to tell you what. When we got this book last week, I was like very tempted to do an army of catechins because I'm like, oh, I'll just play pink and brown skinned orcs.
Well, I mean, by tempted, you literally made a Facebook post and were about to throw your Knight Titans at somebody in exchange for
a bunch of muscle men.
Yeah,
so good.
No comment.
Anyways, so you had a nice smorgasbord of models in your army. It was a good test of the rules because you did that, and also, I think it behooves us to have a lot of good mobility in our armies, and I really think when armies reflect the narrative, they do very well.
Especially in this edition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we still have crazy stuff, but this podcast doesn't really care about that crazy stuff. So the game we played, we did another, what do you call them? Open war game. We love the open war deck here around here, these parts. The deployment we got was a chevron. In case you don't know what a chevron is, player A had a triangle along the long board edge with 2 lines pointing, or the 2 sides pointing towards the center of the board. So
we essentially played the old heavy support icon.
Right, yeah.
Or Iron Warriors.
So you have that one big triangle along the long board edge, and then on the opposite side, you were like 24 inches away, so the other player played in each corner. So it was like a spearhead assault type situation. I won the roll-off, and I decided to go in the triangle, and you split your forces between the 2 smaller triangles. The objective of our mission was burn and pillage. Tear it all down, spread ruination through the enemy's heartlands, and leave nothing but heaped corpses and blazing wreckage in your wake. The players roll off, starting with the winner. They then take it in turns to set up 3 objective markers each, anywhere in their own deployment zone that is more than 6 inches from any other objective marker and any battlefield edge. A player can burn and pillage any enemy objective markers that they control at the end of their turn. Remove them when they do so. The first player to burn and pillage all 3 enemy objective markers wins the battle. You'll note that there is no turn limit here. You play until nothing is left. Mm-hmm. This is a stark difference to a lot of the other missions that really go for a quick game. This can actually drag out for quite some time. At the same time, though, it could be a quick game. You get enough deep strikers in there and you get enough charges in, that game's over real quick. So that was a cool mission. And we have the twist is set piece battle. Though madness and savagery may permeate much of the galaxy, there are those commanders who still believe in honor and codes of conduct that dictate how and when a battle should be fought. So instead of setting up units one at a time, the player that won the roll-off to see who sets up first must set up all of their units in their army. Their opponent then sets up all of the units in their army. Then roll a dice. On a 1, the player that set up second has the first turn, and on a 2+, the player that set up first has the first turn. So I went first. My army.
Yeah.
Forgot about my army.
Yeah, you were running something, right?
I was running. I had some stuff.
I mean, it almost works perfectly with that twist setup too.
The twist. I had a Knight Styrax, which that thing is so great. The Knight Styrax has like a Volkite Chevrail gun, which is just a nasty, nasty weapon. If all wounds of 6 produce extra hits, and it's strength 8, AP -3. It's really good, and it's got a weird flamer that is 2d6 shots, AP nothing, 3 damage. Weird flamer. I liked it though. It was really cool. It automatically wounds on a 3-up, except only either only against infantry or it wounds on a 6-up against vehicles. I can't remember. And then I had a Knight Acheron. That's the one with the giant flamer on it. And it moves 14. Those are real fast. They move 14 inches and they advance 2d6. Then I had a Knight Warden.
Yes.
Okay. That's the one with the Gatling cannon and the close combat weapon. Mine had a chainsword and the super duper crack missile launcher on the top. Then I had a Knight Paladin. That's the one with the battle cannon, and that had a anti-air autocannon on the top of that. So that was my list. I had 4 knights. And since, like I said on the intro, all of my models are stacked up and everything. So I'm just going to be running knights until I get the back room cleaned up.
But it is a beautiful looking army. Every panel's got freehand on it. Yeah, he's done a great job. Thanks. So I mean, if you're gonna have a fallback art list, that's a pretty good fallback list.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so let's talk about the game. I guess I went first. You did manage to decide to give me some extra movement at the start of the game, which was nice. It was sweet.
You're talking to... I'm not going to brag here, all right? But at the portal, I was 22 out of 23.
Points?
No players, how well I did.
Oh, is that what it was?
I did not get last place.
Oh.
And at the other tournament I went to, I got, I think it was 44 out of 45.
So always the bridesmaid then.
I'm just saying, my tactical strategery skill is literally second to none.
Literally second to everyone.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's probably how I got in that mess, not being able to count. So I scouted up my sentinels going, well, he'll have to deal with these. Not understanding that if he rolls well, it gives him bonus movement.
So be careful with your scouts, especially when you have such big units like the. This is true for even things like transports and stuff. Imagine if those were battle wagons full of boys or knobs. I would just move up and assault with those battle wagons, swing them around, and then be able to assault everything in your army turn 2 or turn 1, turn 2. So
which is pretty much what happened here tonight.
Yeah, the one knight assaulted 8, the other one assaulted 12, and so he just swung around and assaulted from the other side, and then piled into the conscripts.
I mean, that sentinel pilot was probably like, oh, I messed up.
Now the other fun part was, I wasn't even thinking about it, the Acheron piled in right in front of all of your commanders. and you were like, I have to kill him because that flamer is gross.
Yeah.
That flamer is super gross.
So
you poured all your shots into him. And what were some of the? I want you to talk about some of the orders and some of the stratagems you used.
All right. So my top at turn 1, I realized someone somewhere made a mistake.
Turn 2.
That was my turn 1.
No, yeah, it was your turn 1. That's shoot!
Yeah.
I assaulted you turn 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I made a mistake.
All right, go ahead.
So I shot the Shadow Sword first shot with the volcano cannon, into the Archeon, the flame guy, and I popped one of the heirlooms here of Conquest. So one of the things you can take on a company commander or your HQ, as long as he's not a named HQ, and it's called Relic of the Lost Cadia. And it's a Cadian model only. All others, no. The bearer can unveil this relic at the start of any turn.
Unveil?
Unveil. Like he unfurls it.
I'm
going to make a banner. Banner.
Yeah, you need to make a banner because that is awesome.
So he unveils it. Look at this, gentlemen. Until the end of that turn, you can re-roll to hit and wound rolls of 1 for all Cadian units within 12 of the banner. So this is kind of what I got rid of Yark for. That and the already Cadians have that just re-roll 1s as long as you stay put. I like this second part, though, because it is Cadia, and Cadia is the best. You can instead re-roll all failed to hit and wound rolls for these units until the end of the turn if they are targeting a Chaos keyword unit.
Wow.
So when you got all those folks playing Mortarion and all those dudes with that Shadow Sword, just re-roll all those to hits and all those to wounds.
We should have done that because technically, I don't think I would have been considered... We should have said I was Chaos for this one.
No. And I had the Grand Strategist thing, so on a 5+, I could immediately refund one of my command points.
So cool.
It's pretty nice. But
super nice.
First shot of the game, it was a lucky shot.
A palpable shot.
Yeah, it blew up the knight. I was all excited until Adam rolled that 6.
Boom! It went nuclear.
It did.
I rolled an 8 for the distance.
It literally killed all of my command staff.
Well, one of your commissars that was on the other side of the battlefield survived.
Well, yeah, and the engine seer, who I'm assuming was just muttering himself like the flesh is weak or something. It's like, what are all these dudes catching on fire around me? Like, calm down. So basically, I did a really good thing, but I also done messed up with a really bad thing. Yeah. I was lucky I unveiled that relic at the start of the round because I had 2 knights in my grill, and I'm like, I got to take care of these.
Yeah.
But
you actually had to repair you repaired your Bane blade Shadow Sword from yellow to green.
Because you did a good job.
And that was a stratagem as well, right?
Yeah. These are a couple of my huge stratagems I was using this game. I used something called Jury Rig, which is pretty cool. So with 1 command point, as long as you stay put and you don't assault with that vehicle, you can get 1 damage healed back on it.
It's like the crew is fixing it, and they do that in the novels all the time. Like in the novel we just read, there's one of the characters actually is like underneath the vehicle, fixing it and praying to it.
lighting little candles.
Yeah, little candles.
The biggest one I used this game, though, had to be overlapping fields of fire, and it's a Cadian stratagem. And it's 2 command points, but use this stratagem after a Cadian unit from your army has inflicted an unsaved wound on an enemy unit in the shooting phase. You can add 1 to hit rolls for all other Cadian units from your army that targeted that same enemy unit this phase. So what I was using the mortars to just try chipping away, just put a wound on something, and then instantly use that command point on that target, and then fire my
2 command points, right?
Or 2 command
stratagem.
points. Sorry.
It's worth 2. I mean, it would be a little much if it were 1.
And I was using that then with the basilisks, because in the basilisks get that +1 to hit.
And it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, it's called overlapping fields of fire, where I guess, when you're talking about las guns, that description makes sense. But for things like the basilisk, I can see it as more of a spotter type situation. Like they're using the mortars to get range, and then they're shooting with the basilisks, which they do that all the time. That's a thing you do. You do a few range finding shots, and then you shoot the real stuff when you know you've hit them.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what I was thinking about in my mind when I was putting this list together. That's what the mortars are probably going to be actually doing.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome. I like that. So there's a few other things. The scions are great. They don't carry on. They don't have the same keywords as the rest of the army.
No,
they have their own keywords, but they have their own stuff. Did you use any of the special scion stuff?
No, how I read the rules in it, I probably read it wrong, because it's just
they don't get it unless they're pure.
Unless if they're a pure thing, you can still get the Cadian
regiment. Yeah, they don't mess up your Cadian ones, but they don't get theirs unless they're pure.
And my original list, I was running 2 battalion detachments, so it had 9 command points, but I decided on the brigade. So the Militarum Tempestus. The Militarum Tempestus regimental doctrine is called Stormtroopers. If a model with this doctrine is shooting at a target at half range or less, you can make an extra shot with the same weapon at the same target for each to hit roll of a 6+ you make for that model.
That's amazing with the plasma.
Yes.
Holy moly.
When I looked at that, I was like, oh my goodness gracious, but then here's the deal. Plasma went up in points in this codex. It used to be 7 points per guy for a plasma gun, if I remember properly. It is now 13, but only if the model has a 3+ to hit. They're actually specific on that.
That had to happen.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So like when I was putting
that had to happen, and that's why orc power claws are 25 points, because knobs have an extra attack. Like that's fair, and that's how it should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, it's Games Workshop seeing people taking one thing and went like, that's actually pretty cool. We're not going to completely mess this up for you, but we need to rein this in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're getting a better shot with it, you should pay more for it.
Absolutely.
And it should be based on and it's you got to do it with the plasma instead of the guy, because some guns aren't worth it. The 3 up to hit is worth exponentially more on the plasma than it is for a las gun, so you can't put it on the character, you have to put it on the weapon. That makes a lot of sense to me. Speaking of the scions, I think one of the greatest parts of the game was the scion commander. What are they? The Tempestor Prime.
Yeah.
He was so good. He actually was able to scour one of my objectives all on his own. He took a battle cannon to the face. He took a rad cleanser to the face. He survived assault with an Imperial Knight. With the Styrics, no less, because I had to move away. I had to move away from them because I had to try to kill them with shooting instead, because I had to get to your lines in order to kill those basilisks. And he just weathered all that fire. He did not care. He was ducking and weaving. He got an objective down, and he just needed to roll 1 higher on his run roll to get to the other objective before he was finally. What did I shoot him with? I shot him with the battle cannon again. I just shot him with a battle cannon twice to kill him. That was amazing.
I think he's still on that board somewhere, just lurking around.
You know what? He is still on that board somewhere. You know why?
Why?
Because I cheated. I should have shot at the airplane instead of him.
That's all good. It's all good.
Damn it. He's alive. He's out there somewhere.
He saw this, and ladies and gentlemen, the origin stories of one Sly Marbo.
Excellent. That's awesome. So, I don't know. I mean, it was a really fun game. This open war mission with the, this mission shows how tough it can be to run Imperial Knights in objective missions, because you could have easily just taken it in one turn. It could have happened.
If I had waited for you to move those knights out a little bit, just deep struck all those scions, bada bing, bada boom, we're finished.
And because your shooting it was better than mine. You had good shooting, and if I had sat on those objectives, I would have just lost.
What I like a lot about this book is previously it felt like the only way to help. Sorry, been yelling all day long. So, middle school teacher. Basically, what I noticed was there are a lot of ways in this book to help boost your shooting, where before it only felt like you could re-roll one to hit or one roll. So like the Lehman Russ tanks, the order here where you can re-roll or roll the shots twice, which is making me really look at my 15 Lehman Russ tanks again. I have a problem. So, and armor's not one.
Dude, Lehman Russ tanks with Cadian doctrines.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, yeah. I'm looking forward to. I'm probably gonna run my Diggas like you suggested as catechins, and being able to on my tanks re-roll the number of attacks.
Pretty good. Vanquishers just got a lot better
and I have two of those.
There you go.
And I'm definitely gonna be picking up some flamer tanks. What are they called?
Hellhounds.
Hellhounds, yeah, some Hellhounds, and even my what are they? Chimeras. I mean, two flamers on Chimeras.
Good to go. Burning
ain't in the countryside. I think that'll be a whole lot of fun. That'll be a fun list, and I already have a bunch of infantry, so yeah, that'll be a good fun. And so you're happy with the Codex? You're happy with what they've come up with?
I'm very happy with what the Codex and what they came up with. I mean, as a longtime Guard player, I really saw this Codex when I was flipping through it as a combination of their 4th edition and the 6th edition book, where the 6th edition book had a lot of the new units, a lot of like the color palettes or color plates and stuff like that for the fluff. But 4th edition that book really went into the army composition, why the Guard are the way they are, why Cadia is the way it was.
Cadia still stands just on spaceships.
Yeah.
Not Cadia itself.
Kind of like better Dark Angels.
Loyal Dark Angels. Oh my goodness. Brutal.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone cared.
That was a burn on us.
Yeah, no, because Dark Angels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they won't care. They'll be like, whatever.
I kind of like Dark Angels.
Yeah.
I like green.
I like the 30k Dark Angels.
Yeah.
More mysterious.
They are mysterious. Okay. So, anyways, is there anything else you want to talk about that we missed? Any special, like, I keep calling them regiments, but they're just like armies. Every one of the Astra Militarum armies, like the worlds, are freaking awesome. Everything is unique. Everything has its own special thing and its own special, idiom. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what people do, and I'm looking forward to seeing mixed groups too. Like you could just do a battalion of Mordians and a battalion of Cadians. There's nothing stopping you. Just please try to paint them differently. That way you know the difference.
Well, with the ITC, they have to.
Yeah, the ITC is good for that.
Requirement right there.
Absolute requirement. Yeah.
That's why my Scions are a different color from the rest of my Guard, because they're a different keyword. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'll say is what I really think a huge strength of this book is going back to the hobby aspect of it.
Yeah.
They show you different regiments with full color illustrations, small, short, fluff, just kind of get the gears going. And in previous, you just get like that little sketch and then that'd be it. But they got converted models and even give you suggestions in here ranges to use.
I'm so glad they're coming back with that. They did the same thing in the Chaos in the Death Guard book, where they showed two different examples of demon princes you could build with some of their kit bashes. It's freaking great. They're doing such a great job.
It's amazing, and this is my favorite book for 8th edition so far.
Right.
And I'm really liking this.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear, John. Thanks again for staying up so late, coming out, because I know you have at least another 45-minute drive home, and but I really wanted to get this out for our listeners by the release day, so or by the pre-order day. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thanks for having me, bud.
All right. Well, all right, everyone, stick around. We'll be right back. Close out the show.
Hey everyone, this is Justin from the It Will Not Die podcast. If you love listening to podcasts that are positive and excited about the hobby, come check us out. We're on the Freebooters Network now, along with other great podcasts like The Independent Characters, 40K Radio, D6 Generation, Nerd Herders, and many more. And remember, it doesn't matter how you love the hobby, just do it.
Nailed it. Do you play more than one mini war game? Or do you like listening to shows which discuss other games and pan hobby topics? Combat Phase is a weekly podcast covering the whole hobby for gamers. We also interview a lot of Black Library authors. Join Kenny and Robert as they try to grow the hobby. Combat Phase, the best part of the game, is on iTunes and www.combatphase.com. Interested in the offbeat world of 40K? Is your bits box full of 20-year-old space elves? Have you ever searched for something out of production 40K on eBay? Well, hold on to your zotes and head over to Corsair Radio. It covers the full scope of the hobby, homebrew rules, fluff, campaigns, oddball models, and more. From Terra to the Eye of Terror, visit us at corsairradio.blogspot.com. That's corsairradio.blogspot.com.
She is 4. It is time to learn. Her father lifts her into the night sky. On other planets, the vision above would be a velvet black sky, the cold white light of 10,000 stars, or the strange beauty of a crescent moon. But she is Cadian, and the sky is not dark and star-studded. It glows with the swirling, lurid bruise of the Eye of Terror that stares back down like a cyclops orb. The only twinkle comes not from stars, but from reflected sunlight catching the adamantium plates of low-orbit defense platforms. She starts to tense. Sometimes the eye is purple, sometimes green, sometimes darker patches of unnamed color. This is an excerpt from the prologue of Cadia Stands by Justin D. Hill.
Hello, listeners. Well, the terrible clicking sound from a few months ago has reared its ugly head again. It's all through my portion of the vocals for this interview. I couldn't re-record the interview, so please bear with it. It's a great interview. Justin is a great guy. Just please stick with us, and I'll try to get it fixed for next episode. Thank you. All right, listeners, thanks for hanging in there with us. This is the segment you've been waiting for, I'm sure. We have Justin Hill here to talk about the novel Cadia Stands. Justin, thank you so much for joining us.
No, it's all a pleasure, guys.
Awesome. So, you may not know this, but we started this segment off actually by reading the prologue to the novel. Which was, but we're going to pretend we just heard it. Wow, Justin, that is such a great way to start a novel, because it drills in and starts us off knowing what this novel is going to be about. And this novel is going to be basically, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from my perspective, it's very much putting the reader in the dusty boots of a Cadian shock trooper, and the White Shields, and basically everybody else who's involved in this engagement. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way of thinking about it. I was a reader of 40K fiction long before I started writing it, and so what always amazed me was things like the Eisenhorn novels, where you could look away from the battlefield and sort of see the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I always liked Dan Abnett with the Gaunt's Ghost as well, kind of going to places where we'd never seen in 40K before because they were off the battlefield. So I always wanted to make that a kind of future experience seem real and to take the reader into the world of the kind of the common grunt in the 41st millennium.
Right, I love these stories that add texture to the 40K universe. So, this novel reminded me of like you mentioned a few novels. It reminded me of Gunheads by Steve Parker, which was very much in the same vein where you do have the commanding officers and everything involved in the story, but it's very much at a more personal level than anything else, which it was a great read for that alone.
Right, thank you.
I'm not a big fan of Imperial Guard novels, that's just not kind of what I'm interested in, but this book is incredible. I really enjoyed reading it. The first line or two, "She was 4, it's time to learn," really blew my mind. I was like, oh, this is going to be an incredible novel. And yeah.
Yeah, I like that opening.
Yeah.
It came to me about halfway through of just, I was kind of, as I was writing it, I was finding out who the main characters were. And so I had the idea of to rewind a little bit, I had started writing a novel that was going to be about the Battle of Tyrock Fields, and this was a couple of years ago now, and I guess the studio would, on their own kind of, in secret, developing the new storyline. So I was about, maybe it was like 20,000 words in, where I had an email from my editor saying, listen, the Tyrock Fields novel is not going to fly because we're going to blow up Cadia. Would you like to write that novel? And so I was, I swore for a few seconds, and I thought, I get to blow up Cadia. Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
So, Minkit. So there was I had an idea for that. The original novel was picking up a pair of kind of young white shields and following their experience as kind of one of many threads through the story. Yeah. And so she was one of the characters who I just liked enough to carry through. And so that prologue of the novel is, in many ways, I think it stands for all Cadians, but specifically it stands for Minka, who's one of the kind of the white shields, who's always wanted to get off Cadia, or always kind of look forward to getting off Cadia and going and fighting in the universe, and can't believe her luck that war has come to Cadia in this kind of monumental fashion.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and we already did a segment, and by already did I mean through the magic of the internet and editing, will have already been done that. Talked about how the Cadians at the age of 7 are exposed to the warp in some way, and which seems logistically to be somewhat difficult for millions and millions of people to be exposed to a warp threat at the age of 7. But the way that you wrap that in, I don't know if it was in the lore before, or if it's something you came up with, but I thought that was exciting because the Eye of Terror, it's much like the sun. You don't stare into the Eye of Terror. Your body, your mind knows not to put your face in the sun because evolution. So I can see that just being a simple way of testing someone's mettle to like, that is the test, to stare into the eye and have it stare back into your soul. That's a pretty genius way to do that.
And to kind of shout it down. We know, surprisingly, as Cadia is such an important, or was such an important world in the 40K lore, there was very little written about it. There was, I think in one of the Eisenhorn novels, Eisenhorn visits Cadia, so there's a kind of a brief chapter and a brief scene where he flies in a Arvus lighter, I think. And there were a few bits in White Dwarf, but kind of mapping out the planet, what it's like to be on it, there was almost nothing. So the first thing I had to do was kind of draw maps of imagine kind of Cadia, kind of beyond Turret Fields. And obviously, I think with Dan Abnett, he talks about the Eye of Terror being visible kind of day and night. And so I thought, what is it like to live where you have kind of almost the constant presence of your enemy kind of glowing down on you? And it's time to learn. Never.
That's awesome. That is so great. And I loved Cadia, the way you described Cadia, and I think all the Black Library authors do a good job of this. And it's not, the worlds of the Imperium don't have Star Wars syndrome where it's, well, this is the one world that has this one climate because an entire planet must surely only have a single climate. No, Cadia has a variety of climates and a variety of land types, and that makes it a very good world for raising troops in, obviously, because they can train in all sorts of different environments. That was also I very much appreciated that.
Well, I felt kind of responsibility, really. I mean, kind of going back with my history in the game, I've been playing since, painting, collecting these figures before Rogue Trader came out. So I've kind of been, I grew up with 40K, and I thought, well, if Cadia's going to be destroyed, someone should at least make it seem like a real world before we do that. So I wanted to kind of make Cadia a character in its own destruction, a character in a novel in which it is blown up. Because there was so little written about it. So the novel obviously kind of covers a few different storylines where we're in different parts of Cadia. So we're in kind of mountainous areas and we're in a kind of cityscape. That was one thing that I really wanted to do with a kind of Imperial Guard army was to do a city fight. Because there aren't many city fight novels, and the City Fight kind of expansion, I think 5th edition, I remember just reading through that, and it seemed such fun. And the 2002 Eye of Terror campaign, the kind of global worldwide campaign, I don't know if you two were playing at that time or not.
I wasn't.
No, so it was the most amazing kind of experience because it was the first time the internet had taken off. And they'd done one a couple of years earlier about Armageddon, where it was postal, and North America, Europe, the UK, you had to kind of send in little cards. You'd fill them out and send them in, and they obviously had some poor guys at GWHQ counting up all these cards to decide who wins which battle zones. So the Eye of Terror they did a couple of years later. The internet had happened, and they kind of went for it. It had Flash was just coming then. They had this really great kind of Flash website, and you could pick which battle zone you're in. I was onto that sort of straight away, and I found, in terms of kind of the fluff, I was quite happy because the first thing my editor said to me is, "Listen, we don't want the rewriting of the kind of Gathering Storm army book or campaign book because that just kind of follows call and creed, and we want something that really brings the story of the kind of common grunt." And so I went back to all that kind of Eye of Terror campaign material, which is just fabulous. It was just so full of really interesting kind of lore, and I thought, great, I get to kind of meld the two of these because in many ways they're both kind of legitimate accounts of what happened.
Yeah, it's the same story. Just continue.
Different points of view.
Yeah.
And so Cadia Stands kind of ties in all of those and brings them together. Yeah, and we get to see Cadia, and then we get to see, obviously, can we give spoilers?
Everybody knows what happens to Cadia. First of all, we already did an episode on campaign setting, and also this will release Friday, so I don't want to give away too much of the novel because we want to use this as a way to get people to buy the novel because people want to read it. It's so good. But people do know what happened to Cadia, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the other interesting thing was to kind of go beyond Cadia, and that's something I think the kind of the blowing up Cadia, the rift that's happened now is quite exciting sort of terrain now for a kind of a Black Library writer, because I think the 40k universe, which has never changed, as long as I've been playing pretty much, has suddenly, there's been a massive change. And I think that's quite exciting. The Cadia Stands got a great reception in Black Library, so they've already commissioned a follow-up novel that will be coming out next year, I should think, and a short story that hopefully, I don't know, maybe they're out this year, but certainly something to tie over between the two books.
Cool.
But it seems really exciting time to be writing, that you can kind of start to define what the 40k universe is like post the fall of the Cadian Gate. Because the Cadian Gate, that has been, for the whole time, has been the kind of bulwark against chaos, and it's fallen. The galaxy has been, ripped in two, and do people even know about that? These are kind of questions that I'm thinking about at the moment. Do people know Cadia has fallen yet?
Right.
How much has word spread? And if people have heard of Cadia falling, then is there any hope left? I mean, really, it's quite scary times. And on top of that, what does it mean to be a Cadian? Because, in a sense, the Cadians have failed.
Yeah, and Cadia is, what's left of Cadia is on ships, right? Like, Cadian regiments are being raised on starships. There's no longer any Cadians being raised on Cadia.
And since they're a diminishing force now, because every Cadian that gets killed, how are they being replaced? So these are things that I'm thinking about with the next novel, of what does it mean to be a Cadian? Because they're the kind of dog's bollocks of the Imperial Guard. And I thought, maybe there's other Imperial Guard regiments who want to take their place, who want to be, the Cadians failed. Maybe now it's time for us to take over.
And you do see that, even that kind of thinking, even in amongst the Cadians themselves. Part of what you were writing about was showing the kind of enmity between the regiments, like, you haven't seen as much war as we have, or you're part of a failed regiment, you don't deserve to be in the front lines with us, etc. So I could definitely see some of that even expanded out between the different armies of the Astra Militarum.
Yeah, and I wanted to, as a guard player as well, I think kind of some regiments or some unit types never get much airplay in 40k novels. So just kind of fun, I like to make sure all the models I've used, or all the kind of pieces of vehicles and things, that they get to appear in a 40k novel.
Oh yeah, you definitely
realistic.
You definitely went with some good fan service, showing the ratlings and the ogren and all that.
Oh, yeah.
The Repentia scene was both disturbing and awesome.
I love that Rattling Sniper. The Rattling Sniper was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was just wonderful. We had some really nice fan service, and I think folks will really, really enjoy that. There's a one ship name that Jason loved a great deal, and so did I.
The Lady of Gygax.
What was that?
Gygax.
Oh,
fantastic!
I read that and I was like, yes, that is the ship that I want to save.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Renegade. There's a Renegade chapter that shows up that we've covered in the past, that we were very excited about showing up. Do you think there's? Well, I don't want to give too much away, but I hope there's some of those guys left, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there must be.
Yeah,
there were just kind of war bands roaming all around the area, and in a way they were kind of preying on the survivors from Cadia. So this book is quite different to the campaign book, I think, and tells quite a different story.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's how these desperate kind of refugees from Cadia make their way out to safety.
Yeah,
and have to fight their way through.
Yeah, there were still several hundred, or maybe even a couple thousand ships remaining after the fall of Cadia, and your story focuses on like 3. So there's still a lot of stories to be told out there, and it does divert from the campaign setting, and there's a great story to be told with what happened, and there's still a lot to be said. And I am looking forward to the next books that you're writing for this.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear, that you kind of slave away, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to blow up Cadia. I'm going to do it right."
It was a great fight, and the drilling down. It did feel a bit like a bit like historical fiction, where you did have some zooming in of these little stories here and there. But I think those are the best opportunities to kind of expose some of the secrets of Cadia and of the Guard, and showing those little details that everybody is always hungry for. Everybody who reads these novels is hungry for those little details, and I think you have a unique opportunity to kind of your own fanboy at heart gets to show that to people. That must be a great feeling.
It is. I still kind of pinch myself because what I wanted to do in life was write books, and so I've been publishing books kind of under my own name, just Justin Hill rather than Justin D. Hill, for about 25 years now. So it took quite a while to come over to writing for 40K or writing for Black Library. Again, for a much longer time, I've been a fanboy. So I've always kind of thought that there's a little bit of the kind of 40K universe is mine. I have a little postage stamp. We're sitting in the Sistine Chapel, and Dan Abnett, Graham McNeil, Aaron Densky-Bowden have done the kind of the ceiling and the roof and all the fabulous murals up there. And there's me sitting in the corner. I've got a postage stamp that I'm colouring in with Sharpies. But that's my bit of the 40K universe, and I've painted it. And it's pretty cool. It's you kind of have to pinch yourself. And one of the cool things is that they send you all these stuff. Obviously you've signed a non-disclosure agreement, and then you get all these kind of books that aren't coming out for a year or 2 years. And it's amazing how far ahead they plan this stuff. So for a long time, I knew Cadia was going to get blown up, and it was a very odd kind of feeling because there couldn't have been that many people in the world who knew this was happening, and I was writing it, which I kind of thought, this is mad. They'd let me, blow up Cadia of all places. Yeah. So
that's fantastic.
That's fantastic. I sit at work in the morning and chuckle away to myself. Yeah, it is. It's yeah.
So you say
gotta make sure it's right.
You say you're a Guard player. I've really only seen your Space Marine stuff, like your 30K miniatures. I know you've been doing some Imperial Fists you've shown that stuff over on the Independent Characters forum.
Yeah.
Looking really good, by the way. But as a Guard player, it must be pretty awesome you've kind of taken the helm on the Creed storyline.
Yeah, again, Creed, I couldn't believe Creed was going free. Because he's such a great character. It'd be interesting to see what happens with him, in the future. There were plans. So again, kind of Black Library went through a few kind of convulsions a few years ago. And I was originally going to be I started with doing Creed short stories, and it was going to end up with a kind of a series of novels. And that ended up being a kind of a long short story. So Creed I thought was great. And just to kind of play around with some things, like Osaka E. Creed. I think in Cadia Stands we learn why he's Osaka E. Creed and not Osaka Creed. And I quite enjoyed putting that little things in. And fleshing him out, because he's always a bit of a not kind of a cardboard character, but in the kind of the story of the 13th Black Crusade, it's not entirely clear why he is such a kind of genius that he can thwart Abaddon. I mean, Abaddon is, kind of the super evil mastermind of the Black Crusade. So what is it about Creed? And so my editor then and I went through quite a few kind of ideas of why Creed is so special. And actually that makes him quite dangerous within the Imperium, because he's I kept saying, are you sure he's only 40? I think he's 42 at the time of the Black Crusade. And I kept saying, well, how is, I was kind of asking questions of the studio, but how has he got to be so brilliant at such a young age? And they were kind of, well, we're not sure, what do you think? So I got to kind of think about this, that actually it makes him very dangerous within a kind of hierarchy of having this young, talented, hopefully flawed as well. I mean, my kind of Creed is quite a flawed character.
Right.
I quite enjoy writing scenes with him because Kell is there to kind of keep him on the straight and narrow, and Creed is in some ways his own kind of worst enemy. So it was really fun to kind of write scenes with him. I mean, he makes an appearance in Cadia Stands. It would be a shame not to have him, kind of appear. So that's great to have him, turn up and show the effect he has on people and people who know him. And I imagine him being kind of surrounded by a coterie of younger Cadians who aren't mired in the kind of the hierarchy and the pomp and traditions of the kind of the older Cadians, who could be, kind of 100 or so years old with their rejuvenate treatments.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what Last Step Backwards was about. Well, there's quite a few things it was about, but one of the important things that was exposed in that story was the fact that Creed is very much more at home with the younger Cadians, with the rank and file, and that's probably one of the things that makes him so affable to them, is that he tries to relate to them, or maybe he just naturally relates to them. And I will put a spoiler alert, because people should be able to read that short story before diving into this. The fact that the great part of that story was him and Kell stealing a bottle of the War Master's Amasec and sharing it with the other Cadians. That was just the best. And that one act shows where he is in his head, right? I feel like that act is so simple, but it speaks volumes.
I went and having a look at, obviously Games Workshop kind of take their inspiration from a lot of real life things, and I was trying to think, who have they kind of got Creed from? Because obviously he's very Churchillian, but also I thought he's probably quite like Zhukov and some of the Russian generals, and so he's probably got more of the kind of Russian general in him. Of the kind of very comfortable in the trenches, drinking Amasec with the common troops. So that's kind of my Creed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, Last Step Backwards. Funnily enough, I think that was my first story I did with Creed, and the studio liked it so much they made a scenario that I think comes with the ebook. I may have been in the White Dwarf. I can't remember now, or maybe on the website. But you can refight that battle. Which I thought that's pretty cool.
Really? I need to
absolutely.
check my account to see if it was added at the same time, because it's not in the thing. I'll check it out. That's awesome.
Yeah, too.
So Jason read the other short story, the one that was more recent. Which one? What's that called again, Jason?
Lost Hope.
Lost Hope.
Okay, yeah.
So what was that one about?
Oh yeah. Basically, Creed is looking for a penal legion, essentially, and ends up on an ice planet. And then everything that happens in there. Sorry, I read it last night, and I was typing notes here. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so Creed is desperately short of men. It's a while since I wrote it, so I'm kind of straying as well. He's desperately short of men, and the only way he can get the men he needs is through a penal legion. So he turns up at an ice prison world, and everything starts to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So it was just great to kind of, again, try to think of places, okay, what hasn't been done? And one of the first things that happened in the 13th Black Crusade, at the end of the first week, there was a prison world in the Cadian system called Saint Germain's Hope that got blown up by it fell to the heretics so quickly that the studio decided to blow up the planet. So they committed exterminatus on this prison world. And that just always kind of intrigued me. It's such an exciting thing to have happen at the end of the first week of the campaign. And so I wanted to see, okay, I imagined, so St. Germain's Hope was on the very extreme of the Cadian system. So it's kind of, the Pluto of the Cadian system. And so I was always intrigued by a kind of ice world, a penal ice world, just on the absolute,
Repente?
Nowhere. Yeah, absolutely. And so this is where Creed turns up, and I just kind of imagined, okay, what's one of these places like? Because there's no way off, and where would they keep the penal troops or these guys? And so Creed and Kel turn up, and again, I just kind of got to play around with a penal world.
It was a lot of fun to read. I was just thinking about all the different things that were happening in there. The couple of the guardsmen that had. Are we doing spoilers?
For the short
spoilers.
stories, we'll do spoilers for the short stories because people should be able to read those.
Well, I'm really bad about spoilers. I know that. So so there's the one. What was it? One of the captains or one of the escaped prisoners. All of a sudden, rescues Creed at one point, and that was actually really interesting how that all developed. And he was saying, "I can't." After it was all said and done, he's like, "I cannot lift your sentence, but you can die in the service of the Imperium." And that was, I guess that's the Penal Legion way. I've never, like I said before, I don't play guard, so I don't always know exactly all the history behind all the different regiments and all the different troop organizations.
Yeah, I think that's probably even more, not just the Penal Legion or the IG way. I think it's probably a very Cadian point of view, is that you are so beyond the Emperor's light that it's actually an act of charity that I will let you off this world to go and fight and die for the Emperor. Kind of quite religious, kind of sort of bit of a zealot. But I think that's quite Cadian, where your military service is almost a holy duty that you fulfill.
Well, when he offered the prisoners, hey, you have a choice. You can stay here and die and, be minors, or you go with me. And they all basically were, crowding the door saying, yeah, take us, we'll go.
Absolutely. At least they have an exciting time before they get killed.
Yeah, exactly.
There's, I was doing some research for this episode, and there's a special, like there's even beyond like a Penal Legion, there's this special group of people who have death sentences. If you have a death sentence, you can go into this other special group where you are sent on the most dangerous of missions, like pretty much certain death type missions. And if you succeed in 3 of them, your sentence is commuted. Which is that's a very interesting concept. I think only very special people are offered that. But that might
is that in the novels? Is that Gav Thorpe's early novels where he was doing 13th?
Could be. Yeah. And I wish I had written it down because I forgot to write down what they're called. There's a special one, but I really liked how there was a really cool section, like that whole section with Commissar Drake in the novel. Where with him, that was a very interesting character and a very interesting angle to take with the story, and I love that you actually showed some of that, because some of that stuff can be very difficult for some readers to deal with, like how the commissars work. And Yarick has always ever been he's pretty mild compared to other commissars, so it's nice to see a different perspective, no matter how much you hate the guy.
Yeah, I think commissars are they're slightly dangerous when you bring them into a story, because you don't want the story to be become predictable.
Yeah, well, you're spending this whole time
you know,
humanizing the guard, and you bring these monsters in, so it's a hard thing to add, right?
Yeah, and you in a sense you kind of know how it's going to end. I think Cadia Stands, subverts that, which is fun. It doesn't end the way you think it's going to. I had a story. The short story I've just finished has a commissar turn up in it as well, and I think Minka's like, oh God, why'd you bring him here? And Jesus, that's the last thing we know is a bloody commissar.
Wait, Minka is in your story?
Yeah,
cool.
she's the character that the studio liked the most. They thought brilliant, a female guardsman.
Yes.
And she's a cool character. She's ballsy, manner of speaking, and she's something new and fresh as well. And I think Aaron talked about his first Cadian Blood novel having no women in it, and something that's very interesting with every Aaron novel has a couple of female characters in. So I thought, well, great, let's have a female guardsman and see what it's like to be a woman in the Imperial Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So she's the main character that's going forward.
That is great. And, your mouth to God's ears, let's hope that GW gives us an updated Cadian sprue in the near future.
Yeah. Maybe a few females on it. Yeah, because they're a bit clunky.
Dirk Squarejaw is the phrase that I would use. You don't have to agree with me because it's your meal ticket, but I will say it.
Yeah, I'm going to Warhammer World this week for Warhammer TV, but also they're going to take some pictures of my armies. I think I have 3 Imperial Guard armies. I have the Metal Cadians as a kind of a non-Cadian army, and they were great figures. The plastic Cadians, again, one problem I've always had with 40k is that the Cadians are bigger than the Space Marines. And so that's why I've never collected Space Marines until 30k, because obviously with 30k, it's just Space Marines on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So my Cadians, I use Death Corps of Krieg bodies and then Cadian arms and heads, which makes a pretty cool conversion because those Forge World ones, are very expressive, and they're a bit smaller, a bit finer.
Mm-hmm.
Then my third IG army is an Elysian Drop Troop list.
Oh, cool!
Which is the most fun army to play.
That's awesome.
It's not necessarily that effective, but it's just an absolute ball to be dropping in squads all over the table.
They go everywhere.
And there's no tanks.
There's millions of them, and they die in droves. It's the best.
Absolutely. It's so much fun. It's fun to play that list, and it's fun to play against as well, which is great because that's when both you're having a good time. It's just you can have a great time.
Well, Justin,
great battle.
I have recently found that Elysians, drop troops in general, plus your regular guard army equals a great foil for a great many things. My orcs find it very difficult to teleport across the table and assault your front lines when you have a bunch of tiny little squads teleport in between me, and I can't be within 9 inches of your front lines anymore. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty. Are you going to be on Warhammer TV doing a game?
I don't think I'm doing a game. I'm just talking about Cadia Stands.
Oh, cool. Okay. They should have you do a game. They should do an interview with you and then do a game with your guardsmen. That would be super sweet.
Game they were playing. Yeah. Next time.
Next time. All right, Justin. Well, I think we've done a few. We've given a few details about the novel, and we've hyped it. And I think that's good. I think folks will definitely be interested in the novel. And we've talked a little bit about your hobby and your pedigree, and I think that's something folks are definitely interested in. But I definitely want to talk about anything else you have going on beyond Cadia Stands and Uskatar. I'll never say his name right. And Creed. Usakar Creed. What else do you have going on?
Yeah, so I've been working on a series of historical novels about the Battle of Hastings. So Battle of Hastings, 1066, where the Normans came over and conquered England. And there's a lot of really interesting material that has never really come to light before. So I'm onto the second book now. The first book was called Shield Wall, came out a couple of years ago, and the Sunday Times picked it as one of their books of the year. And that's the story of the Danish conquest of 1016, which no one has ever heard of. We have a Danish king, King Canute. I don't know if you hear of kind of story of Canute and the waves. Anyway, that's all to do with that. And then the second one came out just in paperback about 2 weeks ago, and that's called Viking Fire. And that was the Times picked that as one of their books of the year, so that was pretty cool. And that's the story of Harald Hardrada, who's the last Viking, effectively. He's the most I think he's probably one of the most extraordinary medieval figures. And the fact he's a Viking probably means that people don't take him very seriously, but he has the most incredible life. He is his brother is Saint Olaf, the patron saint of Norway. And his brother's killed in battle when Harold's about 15 years old. He has to flee over the mountains. He makes his way through Russia down to Constantinople. He's in the Mediterranean, and comes back home, picks up a Russian princess, and he's the richest man in Christendom. And this is all before he's 30 years old.
Wow.
So he's just incredible. And so it's his life story. He's telling his story. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool book. And interestingly, we're at this time of year where it's all the anniversaries are happening. So he'll be killed in battle on the 29th of September. So by the time this podcast goes, it's the 951st anniversary of his death.
Oh, cool. I think
almost to the day.
Our sometimes co-host Snorre would be very interested to hear about. We should send him a link to those novels. He very much gets very upset at Viking horn-helmed Viking stories and all that stuff. Yeah. So I think he'd be very interested to hear of a more true account of the Norwegian history.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's a great character.
Awesome. That's great. Anything else coming up that you can talk about, or is it all hush-hush?
Yeah, nothing else.
Cool.
Yeah. More Cadians, I think, and then we'll see. We'll see what's going to come up.
Awesome. Do you think... I had one quick question about Cadia before we go, and we can edit it out if you don't know. I guess all of the Cadian regiments were called to Cadia. Now, I doubt very highly all of them made it to Cadia. And one region in particular that I'm very much wondering about is the Damocles Gulf. Cadia was deeply involved in that whole campaign. And I was wondering if is there anything left over there at all? Because like half of it is on this side of the Cicatrix Maledictum, the other half is on the other side of the Cicatrix Maledictum, I think. So I wonder, are there any Cadians left over there? Are there any stories left to tell in that area?
I'm sure there are. That's the only other 40k novel I've done, which is one about the Tau and the Death Watch, Storm of Damocles. So
that's next on my list.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of.
Sorry, I haven't read it yet.
Cadia must have been pumping out troops, by the kind of bucket load. So there are Cadians all over, millions of which never made it back to their home world for the kind of the showdown. So I imagine they're still fighting, and they're still out there and trying to come to terms with what's happened, which I imagine is a huge challenge for them.
Oh yeah, that must suck to be among those who were never able to make it to Cadia's final stand.
Yeah, I think there's three different Cadians still alive. There's the ones who were there and were fighting and managed to get off the planet. There's the ones who went off to fight and then came back and were fighting on Cadia and also managed to get off. And their experience is quite different from the ones who left Cadia and didn't make it back. And so they probably have a sense of kind of guilt and also kind of anger at the guys who were there and failed. So that is interesting emotions to play out here, or to, excavate.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to it, and I think that there will be some good stories going forward that involve all of that. And I'm looking forward to seeing your take on it. And we're all very grateful that you could make it and hang out with us tonight. Thanks for staying up late and talking to us, Justin. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
I just want to invite you to Frayed Paintbrush Hobby Progress Facebook group. It is a positive group set up to motivate us to hobby and then share it with all the other members. At the beginning of the month, post up your monthly challenge on the page, and then at the end of the month, you post the completed work for all to see. No pressure, just fun among friends. Once again, that's Frayed, F-R-A-Y-E-D Paintbrush. Hope to see you there.
Well, that is episode 102 of Masters of the Forge. Jason, thank you for joining me.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and hang out with you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
We do have fun.
We have all the fun. Every fun that ever was had by us today. So, Jason, if people are just tuning in and they're interested in hearing more from us and getting updates on our progress, where should they go?
Well, I would highly recommend that you go to Facebook or to Twitter or look for us on Instagram. We are using the hashtag Masters of the Forge, and you'll find my account pretty quickly, and you'll probably find Adams and a few other people. If you can, and this would be lovely, if you can go to iTunes and leave us a lovely review, and use the word lovely in there as well, because I'm going to overuse it. That'd be wonderful. That'd be lovely. That'd be great. And it is helpful to do those reviews because a lot of promotional stuff is based on those reviews. Yeah. So. And it helps other people find our podcast, and it makes other podcasts easier to find. I've discovered. Also, you can go to mastersoftheforge.com for topic ideas. You can go back and look at some of our old stuff, some of our old episodes, some of our old notes. We have our, the supplements up still, right?
Yep, they're still up there.
But a lot of them are still 7th edition because, we just haven't, we're still figuring out what's going on with the 8th edition and how to do that. We've been busy. We have, so.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's tough. I definitely want folks to go ahead and email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com with any show ideas you might have.
Yeah, please.
We really want to hear what you have to think about the topics of the shows you want to hear. I will be looking at this for episode 104. I definitely want to just pick one of the ideas that you have had and just go with it. We've been doing these grandiose topics with like even this episode, the Cadia episode, that's still a major faction in 40K, and we used to do a whole lot. We used to spend 2.5 hours sitting here talking about an obscure corner of the 40K universe, and I want to get back to that. I mean, obviously these big topics are fun and great and all, but I want people to be surprised at some of the information that we bring. So I think let's do that. Let's 104. Guarantee that we're going to just pick something crazy and try to find as much information as possible about it.
What's fun is if our Mechanicus episodes, that was something like 12 or 13 hours of us talking about Mechanicus, and we never felt like we didn't feel like we scratched the surface, right?
Yeah.
It was 3 megasodes. It was incredible.
Well, we had 2 novels.
Yeah.
And the codexes and everything. Oh my god, it was crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what I'm going to commit to. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Jason? Yeah.
Typically, I run screaming from good ideas, but let's try this out. Let's be daring, shall we?
Let's see how this works. All right, dude. Great. So until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Sprinkles.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Podod of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.